everybody. Welcome to the Pantry Party Show with your host, @DJ Blattner. Guess what? We're cooking more at home. We're not going to the grocery store as much. Man, oh man, do we need inspiration. That's what the Pantry Party Show is all about. You guys ready to get this party started? The Pantry Party Show is about to begin right now. Hey everybody, it is so exciting to see you. We today have a very exciting guest. I know I say that every day, but I'm serious. How does this sound to you? Comfort food? Yes. Southern style? Yes. Okay. We have the author of the Southern Comfort Food Cookbook, but it's also diabetes friendly. I mean, hello. I know her from her frequent appearances on at Good Morning America. She is an adjunct professor. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Shall we get her in? At Maya Feller RD. Let's get you in here. I can't wait to see your. All right, let's prepare for a nice warm pantry party. Welcome. Oh my goodness. Getting ready. Hey! Hey! It is so good to see you.
Okay, wait. Why do I not have a disco ball in my just regular life?
Correct. So just so we're all clear, I saw this disco ball and I was like, it was a definite deal. Like this thing, it doesn't have a motor or anything. You know, you just gotta spin it. You know, maybe like $12. I was like, I need that just to ricochet light. It's like, you know, it's like a little light show for yourself all the time. I recommend it.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, so it's good to talk to you in person because I don't know if you know this, but how I became familiar with at Maya Feller RD is through Good Morning America. I was on Good Morning America and, like you several times, and they said, oh, hey, have you met Maya? And I was like, who is this? And so then I looked you up, and then I've been a follower and a fan ever since. You do such great work, girl.
Oh my, thank you. You're incredible too. I mean,
well, I'll take it. Girl, that's all I'm doing. I compliment to just sit back and wait and be like, and you got something to say about me?
No, I love how you spread joy. You know, you're incredible. I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember in New York City, there was an event that we went to together. Well, actually, you were one of the hosts of the event, and you presented a whole bunch of different like drinks and beverages and smoothies, and it was a beauty event. And that was one of the first times that we met in person, and it was in New York.
Oh my gosh, I loved that event actually because I am a huge like mocktail person. I love to appear like I'm drinking at all times. You know what I mean? I love to appear like I'm drinking all the time. So yeah, that was a good event. Well, I'll tell you what, I got a chance to read through your bio and look on your website as I was, being the hostess with the mostest here and trying to be so prepared for our interview. And I didn't realize that, you do tons of media, you do tons of speaking, you have a private practice, you have all of this going on. In addition, then, you're an adjunct professor?
So here's the thing. I've been teaching life cycle at NYU since 2012. So when I finished school and I got my RD, I was running this food and nutrition program in Brooklyn. And the focus was HIV, AIDS, Hep C, and then the patients were homeless, unstably housed. It was funded by the Department of Mental Health and Hygiene. And so I was the program manager there. And the second summer of me being there, I started doing summer session or teaching summer session at NYU. And so I have taught summer session pretty much all the way through since then. But then last year actually transitioned and took over the class throughout all the semesters. And it's interesting because I don't even know if I should say this, but like the summer it used to be like I would just have this incredible time in the classroom. We'd do these wild case studies and I would use like actual patients of mine, get permission, of course. And then, the school year, it was like very serious. And so I was like, oh, this is really different, and so now I'm back to summer session and the classes are remote now. So that's a whole new thing. Like I don't get to see people and make them laugh, in person and kind of get that vibe back and forth. But yeah, I love NYU.
Well, it's amazing. That is quite the job. respect for teachers everywhere. Like, I mean, no matter what grade, no matter what level, I mean, it takes a lot of, I feel like, patience, creativity, trying to pay attention to how people learn. I think it's when somebody does teaching like you do, I mean, you have to know the material too, like extra well, because people are going to be asking you stuff. So then I'm always like, man, she's smart. She's smart. Well, how do you schedule this all in? So if you're doing a private practice, and I mean, I'm sure a lot of your speaking gigs have even turned virtual now, all of this media that you're always doing. Oh, and by the way, as I announced at the beginning, and you're a cookbook author, I mean, how do you schedule your days with all of this and a family?
So, I always say, like, in a very truthful and honest way, like, I do the best that I can, and I really seek out, like...
I love that. Can I just give you a disco ball for that? I mean, if that is great advice, though. So,
yeah.
Legit. I mean, even though it's like, you hear everybody talking, it's like, here's what the rule is. Do the best that you can, right? Yeah. I love that. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No.
Speaks to my heart.
Yeah. So it's like, doing the best that I can. And of course, given where we are globally right now, the truth is, and my husband and I talk about this all the time, we have had to readjust our expectations with regard to what parenting looks like, with regard to what, remote learning for the kids looks like. And because the truth is, work is important, and then family is important, but happiness is also important. So it's like shifting, and, making sure that all of that kind of falls into place.
That is something, there is something very interesting about that word expectation, right? So it's like, I do feel like that can set you up from some real garbagey stuff.
Yeah.
If you don't have those set right. We've got an amen from Kim. Amen. I mean, it is, truly, you hit it in right there. Now you have, as I was reading in your bio, you have a real passion in your nutrition world, real passion for helping people prevent disease. Like, this is something that you can read, like, as you're reading it in your bio, it's like, wow, she really cares about this. What brought you to nutrition? Like, why do you care so much? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So, I mean, I came to nutrition. It's the story is kind of funny. It's like a very, it's not basic, but it's simple in that years ago, I was training for the Boston Marathon, and, anyone who trains for a marathon, I was running for charity, so I didn't get in on time. Let's just be clear there.
That was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, no, I always have to put that caveat in place, because people are like, oh, girl, you're fast. And I'm like, no, I'm not that fast. But I was training for the Boston Marathon, and I had a lot of hours that I was able to log and run. And in that time, I was literally just thinking, what's happening with all this food that I'm eating, And I would be running, and some of those 18-mile runs, I'd get to it like mile 12 or 13 and be like, oh, I'm hungry again. Where'd the food go? And it was such a simple thought that I literally was always thinking, what is happening with that food? And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to study that. I need to study whatever that is. And so I come from a family of educators. And I remember saying to my dad, I was like, oh, I'm going to do like a certificate in nutrition. And he was like, no, you're not.
Dad, good dad.
I know. And so then I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to go to school and study this, right? And so that's when I decided to go to NYU, where I did my graduate studies. And I studied nutrition there. And then upon, like, in my internship and then coming out of school, I really recognized that in the world of nutrition, there are people who constantly do not have, right? There are people who are forever disenfranchised. And they're like systems that are in place that are set up that make it incredibly hard for marginalized communities. And so I decided that I wanted to work in community nutrition. And that's how I ended up really working within the community. And then when I left that job to go into private practice, I was really aware that diet-related chronic illnesses, that many of them are preventable via diet and lifestyle, right? So what you put in to your body and some of the choices that you make. And I also really wanted to commit myself to continuing to work with marginalized communities, because although preventable, you know, when you live in a zip code where you don't have access, then it becomes even more challenging.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I mean, I knew there was a personal story in there because as I was reading it, I was like, wow, she's very passionate about this. But how fun is your story of like, you just became curious. You're like, and I think I'm going to go study that. So, I mean, that's amazing. And then your draw to really help people who may not have access to resources like other people. I think that is amazing. Now, what about the book? Where did this whole idea of Southern comfort food come from with that diabetes spin?
Yeah, so I was approached and I thought, you know, this is an interesting topic. My family's from the Caribbean, and so I say that's like the South, South, South.
Yeah, yes, there you go.
And so, you know, a lot of food from the American South. Hey, I see some friends coming in.
Oh, yeah, say hi. Stir up trouble with any of them you want.
So, you know, a lot of food from the South has influences like from around the globe. And one of the things that I have said, just in talking to patients of mine from the South, like my neighbors are from the South, and just looking at that kind of food pathway, is when we think of like fried chicken now from a fast food place, like that has nothing to do with Southern food. Like, right?
Right. I mean, that's like, you know, all types of foods. Like when you think of cuisine of like Mexican food that's been Americanized, and like Asian food that's been Americanized. And
exactly. Yeah. And so I felt like I really wanted to tackle the topic, especially because when we look at the data that's coming out of the country, we see a disproportionate amount of people in the American South who actually have diabetes, hypertension, and cardiovascular disease. And I was like, why not lift up this cuisine that we all know and love and put a little twist on it?
Yep. But you like the word twist. I've noticed that it was in your bio, like Instagram bio, and it's like your thing. So the twist of being like, hey, this is also good for you, twist. Hey.
Completely.
Well, that's fun. I like that you know, and I know this must happen to you a lot, that you get approached with projects and it's like, how do you know what to say yes to, right? So you have a full life. You have a lot of things going on. I have a system of like how I sort of assess, you know, what I say yes to. And like it's very much like what you said, this concept of, you know what, that means something to me. Like there is, this is sort of like a hell yes. I want to try this out. And second, do I want to be known for this topic and get more of these opportunities like book writing? Yes. Yeah. You know, and then it's like, yeah, okay. Is there any way I can make this more awesome? It's like, yeah, I can do it in a way that is true Southern cuisine. I think that's great. Now, is there, on the Pantry Party show, is there anything that is either from the book or something that you've been doing a lot with your family, or something that you feel is like, we all need in our lives to help us during this time of cooking so much at home?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I thought about this, and we actually had lunch like literally the hour before. My son was like, yeah, could you make me like a grilled cheese avocado toast? And I was like, yeah, sure, no problem. I know.
Hold. We need a moment. Because you just said in one sentence two of my favorite things. You said in the same sentence, you said grilled cheese and you said avocado toast.
I did. I know.
That is, oh yeah, I like that. That is a heart. I always wish that my heart looked like more like a heart. I gotta work on this, because that doesn't look right, does that?
I just learned from the kids. You know, they taught me. Like that's how they keep me, like, you know. Well, apparently I'm not that cool anymore, even though I'm like, hey, I'm extra, and they're like, no, you're not.
You are guacamole. You are so extra, or whatever that saying is. I've seen it on people's shirts. Well, so I had to give that a moment of like true like respect there, because I was like, wait a second, she just said two of these words. So I've never heard of this. Is this something you've made up? What is going on?
So on Mondays, my husband makes bread. He makes sourdough bread.
Where does he have a brother? Don't tell my husband, but now I'm like, that's amazing. Who marries a man who makes his own bread? That's amazing.
I know. He grew up that way, so he came like that. But so on Mondays he makes bread, and he does sourdough bread, and so we always have, you know, from Monday 2 loaves of homemade sourdough. And I don't know, how has it been getting groceries for getting groceries for you? Have you been like able to go to the grocery store, or are you having everything delivered?
Okay, so we are going to the grocery store, and when I'm using the royal we, I mean my husband is going. So I have not been to the grocery store, but he has.
Yeah.
And it was just simply because when we tried to order, it was always taking way too many days, and we had no food, so we weren't doing it in the right time frame. So anyway, what about you?
So, so we have not gone to the grocery store. We've been using like small farmer delivery and then also restaurant food service delivery. So the pantry, that's to say, the pantry's wild. Like it is, you get a delivery and the quantities are not what we're accustomed to. So like yesterday, I was able to get like some snacks, and we haven't had any snacks since the beginning of the pandemic. And so I got seaweed, but it's a case of seaweed.
Oh my gosh. So you have had to be uber creative because you're getting foods you're not used to and quantities you're not used to.
Yes.
And how old is your son?
So he's 12 and then the girl is 7.
Oh, so a 7 and 12-year-old who are along for the ride on shop, get what you get, and no snacks.
So we've been eating food. Like when I tell you, I suddenly feel like my Caribbean grandmother, where it was like there were no snacks, like people ate food. So we sit down.
Fine.
We have.
I'm giving you this.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, is that cuckoo? That's a cuckoo idea right there. It's like, oh, what are you eating at Maya Feller RD? It's like eating food, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So so we've been having, so in the mornings they'll have, yogurt or cereal, and we are a cereal family, right? So it's things like muesli and oatmeal and low sugar granola. I was able to get some of their favorite cereals. So there's like, Gorilla Munch and Panda Puffs, because I could get 4 boxes, smaller quantity. My daughter was very excited.
Yeah. She's like, thank you, Mama. Thank you, Mama.
Literally. But then other than that, I've been making like these crazy egg dishes. So really what I have to say, and I have this here, I'm going to lean out of frame for 1 second and bring it up, is this has been like life, what we are basically not surviving, but like the basis for every meal. It's like shallots, onion, garlic, ginger, that goes into my morning eggs. It goes into whatever meal or dish I'm making throughout the day. And then maybe I have to take you over here.
Oh yeah, please show me around. Because in that bowl was, I saw onions and I saw garlic.
Yeah.
And did I see potatoes in that bowl or no?
No, that was ginger.
Oh, that was ginger. Nice.
Yeah. So then I'm gonna switch. Here we go. So that's my water bottle. This is our fusti.
Yes.
And yes, is it not life? So I am a huge olive oil person, and we're part of an olive oil CSA. And so really this is kind of how we've been living. It's like I put food out on the countertop, and then, I cook basically based on, what has been delivered and what is fresh.
I'm sorry, I can't talk right now. My jaw has just dropped. I'm like, that is truly, that is amazing. I feel like that is, like you said, it's so grandma cooking, right? It's so like, like when we talk about like eating real food, it's like, oh, you just showed me on your countertop, like all this real food. So how do you meal plan? Like if you are just getting all of these, so you have this bowl of like onions and ginger and garlic, and then you have whatever comes, you have the delicious olive oil. Do you just like wing it, or are you planning, or how do you do it?
So I have a lot of like bulk grains and beans. And so we have white rice, black rice, brown rice, millet, red rice, like all of those grains. And then a lot of dried beans. So black beans, I think white beans, mung, dal, all of that stuff. And my son's vegetarian, so I usually cook vegetarian meals. And I literally just think about, okay, what are the vegetables that we have in the house? And I happen to get a case of this. You don't hear this every day. I happen to get a case of dandelion greens.
Oh my gosh, you don't hear half the stuff you're talking about. So like this, you said something about like an olive oil.
The fusti.
Yeah, so like you're part of something where you get olive oil delivered all the time or something, or what? I mean, who are you? This is amazing stuff. Let's go back to the fusti and talk about your olive oil situation.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
What's going on?
So what's going on there is that we have a friend who has some Greek family, and we've been doing this for a while. So you can basically get 15 to 30 liters of olive oil in this huge tin, and you have to go pick it up from their house, and it's incredible. I mean, and it's really wonderful. The taste is unbelievable, and we store it in a very cool, dark place so it doesn't go rancid. And then the rest we keep, we refill on the countertop with like a kind of like a pump situation. And we have 3 liters of olive oil on our countertop that I use for cooking at low heat. And then I finish, dishes by topping it on there and then add in like a little, seasoning in and up, like whatever I'm feeling.
Oh my God. I mean, that is beautiful. Like, I'm literally tearing up thinking about, like, that you're eating olive oil, truly from the source. Like, you're getting it from the source of all that is great. Like, that is amazing. So you have that on your counter. You have all this stuff. Then you tell me you have, like, a case of seaweed that you're like, oh, yeah, it's a case of seaweed. Then you tell me you've got a case of dandelion greens. This shows you just how creative you can be with food, honestly, because I feel like, I would be able to do something with a bunch or two of dandelion greens. But then at some point, I'm like, what is happening? So, what did you do?
So we eat a ton of vegetables. And I mean, when I say we eat a lot of vegetables, I mean, I started like a pan the other morning with 2 heads of dandelion greens, and then I put eggs in there, and then I left the other portion for like a little while and figured, okay, we'll do something with it later. And then my husband warmed it up again when he did the pasta. So we just eat a lot of vegetables.
That's
so beautiful. I do them.
Have your kids always eaten a lot of vegetables? Like, because that's the thing is like, it's one thing that you and your husband eat them, right? It's like, okay, your kids have this same palate?
So they have no allergies. And so I cook a meal. Listen, I'm from a Caribbean stock, and my family, like I grew up where there was just like a meal. And so I cook one meal, and whatever I cook is what we all eat. And of course I take requests and like, what would you like? But if you don't like the dinner that's there, I'm not going to stand up and make another dish.
Yes, I'll give you this too. That's a healthy, happy family right there.
Yeah.
Right? That's, getting inputs, creating this idea together, great. Here's what it is. And it's not like, oh, you don't like this, here's a chick nugget. You know what I mean? Like,
no. But here's the thing. So like, my son was like, oh, I really want like a plant-based burger. I'm like dying for one. That's what he said. And I said, first of all, you're not dying for one. I said, you really have a desire for one. I said,
He's got my dramatic heart, just so you know. He's got my dramatic heart. I love it. I'm dying over it.
But then he was like, I really want that. And I was like, all right, cool. And so I ordered some because, I really believe that as you're building this family food and landscape, it's about balance, right? And I also recognize that I'm talking about things that are like very obscure, and that this is a very privileged place to sit, right? When you're like, oh, what am I going to do with all my dandelion greens? It's like, I get
it. Absolutely. It's like, yes, always, hashtag blessed, grateful, like amazing. Agree.
Yes.
Agree.
Yes.
I really though, this is like my over 50 pantry party shows I've done. This is the first time, like, I really feel like sort of a deer in headlights, like, oh my gosh, like, this is so interesting, and it's like, oh, I just put on a pot of dandelion greens and finished in the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I love that. And I feel like the other thing that is really running through my head as I'm hearing you, it's like, I like to eat a lot of vegetables. I feel like they are, the lifeline to everything, right? But I like how just like simple you're making it. It's not like everything has to be this drama thing. You're like olive oil, a little spice, put them in there.
Totally. I mean, like, seriously, today's lunch, that sourdough grilled cheese avocado was literally the sourdough bread, a little bit of Swiss cheese on each piece of bread, mashed avocado, and a dusting of paprika. Like I would have put smoked paprika, but I couldn't find it in the cabinet. And so I just tossed a little bit of paprika on it. And I made a smoothie on the side that was some strawberries that were on their last leg, some Ripple pea milk, some spirulina, and almond flour.
Yo, that's such a fun smoothie. I think that's a good key is like if you're having a meal that is like maybe not a ton of vegetables, is you can always put a side dish of vegetables in your smoothie with anything that's going bad in your house, like your strawberries or greens or whatever. I love that. So, I mean, you're giving so many tips. I feel like, you know, what do I do with all this information? I mean, what should be my takeaways here?
So you know what so it's really funny. I was doing a Brooklyn walk the other day and I bumped into an old patient of mine who said to me from across the street, just like this, "Oh, sister." And then he says to like a friend of his who's standing there, "That's my nutritionist. She got me right eating more plants." And I think,
oh my God, hey, you need to get a shirt. That needs to be your new mantra. I get you right eating more plants. Come on, that's like the best motto. That's the best thing someone could say to you. She got me right.
Yeah, eating more plants. And I think that's the takeaway, right? How can
I love that.
you know, get more plants into your day to day? And that's really like how I roll, just regularly.
I love that as a lesson, get more plants, because I'm already like calculating in my head, like, okay, I've got to figure out how to get olive oil from Greece. First of all,
I'm gonna hook you up. I'm gonna hook you up.
This is mind blowing. I'm like, oh my gosh. I definitely think I'm like, oh, I eat a lot of vegetables. No, I just got schooled. I need to eat more vegetables and prepared simply, just like how I feel like you do. I love the challenge of doing more of this delivery of fruits and vegetables. There's this thing that I told my sister-in-law about, and I've been sort of on the fence about it. This might be my inspiring moment from you to like play with it. It's like the ugly produce delivery, you know, like it's like all this stuff that nobody really wants. It's like, I want that. I want to get it. It's ugly stuff. I could try and be creative with it, kind of thing. I mean, it's just everything about what you're up to is just, I mean, it's so beautiful. It's like old school meets, you know what it is? You know what it is? It's a twist. It's old school meets modern twist. It's your word. It's your word.
I love it. Oh my God, I love it.
You're too fun. Well, so that lesson being, I'm going to have to give this episode 2 lessons, honestly, if I'm going to have to say. Because then I was like in my head also thinking, oh my gosh, maybe I should start making bread. Because you do 2 loaves of sourdough every week. So here's what I say. The first lesson is eating more plants. And you don't have to stress about it. Just do it simple.
Yes.
Okay. My second thing is, hey, how's about making a avocado grilled cheese sandwich? Because if you have grilled cheese, you have avocado toast, and they get married and they have a baby like that, that is magic.
Listen, done and done. I mean, you said it. It is magic.
It is magic. Now, listen, you know, you've got so much going on. If people want to keep in touch with @Maya Feller RD, what should they do? Where should they go?
Well, thanks for asking. And thanks for having me on and sharing me with your community. I love it. I appreciate it. So if you all want to find me, you can find me on Instagram @MayaFellerRD, and it's just like it sounds, MAYAF like Frank, ELLERRD. You can also find me on my website, mayafellernutrition.com, and then send me an email. I always respond. I also respond to DMs, and I'm on Facebook too. So it's all Maya Feller.
I love it. Maya Feller RD, you are such an inspiration. I feel like I know you even better now that I got a peek at your whole counter situation. I know more about how you and your family are eating. I just love you. I love everything you're doing. Thank you for being such a magical guest on the Pantry Party Show, babe.
Oh my gosh, Dawn, thank you for having me on. You're incredible, and I love how you are really bringing people together and like boosting joy and also giving everyone kind of this opportunity to just peek into people's homes and pantries in this super relatable, down to earth, incredibly fun way. So I appreciate you.
Thank you, babe. So I'll be talking to you on DM a little later.
Okay.
All right, bye, babe. Hey,
Bye.
that was another wonderful episode of the Pantry Party Show with @Maya Feller RD. She is a adjunct professor. She's always on Good Morning America. She sees clients, and she wrote the cookbook, The Southern Comfort Food. Think about that, Southern Comfort Food for Diabetes cookbook. So it's like the healthy twist on things. What an inspiration. Our message today was eat more plants, do it simply, and I also give you a side message of, hey, if grilled cheese meets avocado toast and they have a baby, I think we should eat that. So @Maya Feller RD, check her out. She is a magical being, and I will be back tomorrow with another guest on the Pantry Party Show. Until next time, sending you high immunity vibes, big love, and lots of kisses.